Cool, and we should now be live. So I'm just going to check inside the group. Bex, can you just have a look inside the group as well? Just see. Yeah, sure. Let's have a look. So just make sure that we're in the group. It'll probably catch up in a second. It normally takes a few minutes. Okay, just double checking that we're in the group and everything's good.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, guys. So we are live inside the lab. If you are watching this on YouTube, make sure you get inside the lab. It's a free community where we discuss conversion rate optimization. So you can just head over to landingpagelab.com, join the group for free, and we'd love to have you in there. But today we are honored to be joined by Curtis Moore, who Curtis is a partner of Landing Page Guys. He's been partnered with us for probably about the past year. And he is our go-to copywriter, our content writer who literally skyrockets our clients' pages through the art of copy. And inside the lab, we often talk about landing page optimization and landing page tips. But copy is a completely different ballgame, and I'm sure Curtis will tell us a bit more about that. But yeah, make sure, like I say, if you're watching this on YouTube, head on over to landingpagelab.com, join the group. But if you are on YouTube, subscribe to this video. We've got some great questions coming up. Curtis has got a lot of really, really good stuff to share. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Curtis. If you wouldn't mind just giving us a kind of brief introduction. Of course, we know exactly who you are, but for people who don't, how did you get into this industry? And yeah, just give us a little intro.
Hey, that's a great question. I'm traditionally trained. I actually majored in communications and minored in marketing in college.
Okay.
And upon graduating college, my first gig, I was a marketing consultant for a local radio station. So, there I was charged with coming up with promotional campaigns, writing radio ad copy, and actually selling the radio advertising time to the clients. So I'm a unique blend of sales and marketing that isn't always, common. Usually somebody's either just sales or just marketing. I've been a unique blend of both from day one.
I guess I was about to say, I guess that's why you're so good, but it's quite nice coming from both backgrounds. You have that kind of sales knowledge and the marketing knowledge. But this is something you actually trained in, right? So you went to, I guess over there, like college, is it?
Yeah, it was about 20 something years ago. So
you don't look old enough, Curtis. You don't look old enough.
We had AOL back then, and we were excited.
Oh man, I remember AOL. That was amazing. Like the little man where it used to bling up, bling bling.
You have to make your heart, race a little bit, but
doing business on MSN.
Yeah, so I'm a dinosaur, man. I'm dating myself, but
so how long have you been writing copy?
Well, if you count the 2.5 years with the radio station, because I was really good at it, the local DJs would actually see me put the work order in the production basket with the copy. Yeah. And they literally would fight each other to get the opportunity to produce my sales scripts or copy scripts. So
amazing.
It was really good. I was always really interested in writing, enjoyed it. So, but online, I've been at it since about 2015. So for about 5 years now.
Okay. And for people who don't know, you now kind of run your own business, writing copy for any kind of direct response, I guess, internet marketing kind of industry.
Correct. I mean, I've written for a wide variety of clients, obviously through you guys and even before Landing Page Guys. And I would say I like and enjoy most industries. The one that I kind of get tripped up in a little bit is personal development, just because I don't know who's selling those people those courses, but they tend to not like the traditional copy that is going to actually convert for them.
Sure.
So
sure, we'll get into some specifics shortly. I'm excited to do so, but make sure if you're on this video, interact with us, say hi. I see Sam's here, Alex is here, so anyone else who's watching, just make sure you say hi, type in the comments. It'd be great to see who's about. And of course, if you have any questions during the live for me and Curtis, please add in. We're going to get into some sort of landing page copy stuff, but we've got some questions that people have been writing in the lab, if that's okay to answer a few questions, Curtis.
That's fine. Let's go for it.
Cool. So question number one, again, focused on landing pages. Let's not forget, we are the landing page guys. We're live inside the landing page lab. When it comes to copy on a landing page, so we're talking about specifically, let's say a sales page or a lead gen page, a direct response one-page landing page that takes you through a funnel. Are there any tips? Are there any kind of things you can really share with us that really work on those kind of direct response pages when it comes to the content?
Yeah, number one, the first thing that jumps out at me, Oliver, I like to take a step back and harken back to a gentleman named Gene Schwartz. You ever heard of him?
I haven't, no.
He has a book that he wrote called Breakthrough Advertising, and basically he talks about the 5 levels of market awareness. The 5 levels are unaware market, problem aware market, solution aware, service or product aware, and then there's offer aware. And anytime I think about writing copy for a landing page, the first thing I always consider is market level of awareness and where the traffic's coming from, so that I know how to create the headline and lead. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So do you often, before you kind of start a landing page, do you ask your clients to look at the ads first and foremost?
No, I actually always start with the avatar research and who they're planning on targeting. And I try to see and assess how well they know their target market and avatar. And if they don't know that target market or avatar very well, I always try to suggest, hey, why don't we do avatar research first? I have a framework that I use for it. And I think it's the best in the business because it takes you really deep inside of the psychology of someone and what they're thinking. And that's what helps you me be able to actually write copy and sell to those people. Anybody could use that template and be able to write copy to them. I'm not one of those copywriters that's like, oh, this is impossible. You can't learn it. You can't do it. It's a process, just like face-to-face sales process.
No, that makes perfect sense. I mean, it's often when we're starting to build a landing page, we get inside that demographic because it depends if you're kind of an older person, younger person, whereabouts in the world you are, how much money you have, obviously what sex you are, all kind of caters towards how the page should look and feel. Like, for example, one little thing we do is, let's say, for example, you're targeting an older demographic. Now, older demographics can't read as well. It's just a known fact. I'm wearing glasses right now. I'm probably too old before my time. But, we tend to make like the font size bigger. Is there things that you do on copy for different demographics, like that kind of thing, for example?
Yeah, you kind of want to approach an older demographic with things that maybe they kind of grew up watching and listening, and because they're going to have a different perspective than, let's say, a millennial who didn't grow up maybe watching, I don't know, Gilligan's Island or something like that, or the Brady Bunch. These kids, they may have seen it, but it's not as impactful as it would be with an older audience who really grew up on that stuff and it was all they had to watch. So you want to take certain things like that into account. If somebody's older, obviously, and you sell, let's say, a CBD ointment cream or something like that, that conversation is going to be different with an older person versus maybe a sports related younger person. So those are the things I like to keep in mind when speaking to people of different target markets and things.
Sure. And you kind of mentioned that an older demographic, you would put something in the content that they can relate to. Is that the same across any demographic? You should try and kind of get into the head of your consumer and relate to them. So, put something within the copy that they think, oh, I watched that the other day, or I did that the other day, because instantly then you're kind of on their level. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Like if you're writing to young teen girls, and
Yeah.
I've actually had to write for you may know, I don't know if it was one of the people you referred or not, but I've had to write for like makeup and things of that nature.
Yeah, we do.
I've never used makeup, but I know how to research it and then write to it. But maybe you throw something in there about a Kylie Jenner or something like that.
Yeah.
If it's appropriate. it's just an example there.
Of
But
course.
you want to throw in something that is going to make them think that maybe if it's an advertorial, it's written by a teenage girl and instead of a 50-year-old black man.
Well, you don't look 50. I'll give you that. So there's a compliment for you.
49.
49. Oh, cool. So I'm getting ridiculed on the chat for not knowing who Eugene Schwartz is. So yeah, maybe I need to look into that after that. But luckily, I have Curtis as my copy guy, so it's all good. Cool. Moving on to the next question. So we have a question about emails. So email sequences. What content tends to work best on emails? Like, and I know this is a very broad question because, again, it could be any demographic, any kind of niche. But is it kind of short copy that works best, long form copy, short punchy emails? Are they better coming from a person, like a personal email? Are they better be branded email? Or does it kind of differ across, depending on what you're offering?
It depends on the person's business, really. But I will say, like, person-to-person emails, I believe, tend to convert better. And usually you want to take an email and get them to engage with clicking through to where you want them to go as quickly as possible. You always want to provide value, of course, but I think, keeping it, one page or less as often as possible is the best way to go. That way people don't think every time they see your email, they're going to have to read a bunch of stuff and get fatigued getting through it. So
no, sure, that makes sense. And is there like typically a kind of set amount of emails that you'll set up on like a follow-up sequence? Like let's take, for example, an opt-in for a lead magnet. So, let's say it's a CBD product, but they opt in to get something in and you want to sell them the CBD product on the back end. Is there kind of an amount of emails that you would suggest people run with to start with, or is it kind of split testing and then adding more, or how does that work?
Always want to split test, but I always start with about 5 emails. And
could you just quickly talk us through those 5? So what happens through those 5? Is it like are you kind of trying to educate them first and give them some free value and then sell to them, or do you sell straight away? How does that often look?
I usually educate them first with free value and then try to sell in that last email. So I follow the 5 Ps for that process. The first email is it's going to probably make a promise. The second email is the first email is going to talk about a problem. The second email is going to make a promise. The third email, I'm going to provide some sort of proof with a testimonial. Fourth email, I'm going to look at like pushback or objection handling and try to maybe assess some objections. And that 5th email, I'm going to promote.
That's really interesting. So the five Ps. Okay, so the 4th P you said about a pushback. That's something I'm not familiar with. So how does that 4th email look?
Well, there's usually like some kind of objection people have if they haven't bought or if they're not buying yet.
Yeah.
And so you want to anticipate what those could be based on research and, kind of
just give them the answer straight away kind of thing.
Right. So cool. It basically, those 5 Ps turn that the back end email into like a mini sales letter.
I was about to say, it's almost like a sales letter, isn't it? It's like, It's kind of like that AIDA principle going down the page. You've got the desire, then you've got the kind of FAQ. We do it on a page and an FAQ, but you're doing it in a kind of position on a 4th email saying, these are going to be the questions you typically have. These are the answers. You don't need to give us a call. You don't need to go and Google search about these. We have just answered them straight here for you in this email. Bang, email 5. Here's your kind of sales pitch.
I'm glad you touched on that, Oliver, because you know what? That 4th email also can be tweaked where you can say, hey, you know what? I want to be human. Give me a call. Send me an email. Okay. And that gives you some human interaction. And a lot of people don't ever get around to that because they're so hell-bent on being automated.
Right.
And they're missing out on opportunities by not doing that.
That's interesting. That's a really good tip. And these emails typically, are they plain text? You mentioned it's kind of like it tends to be a kind of person-to-person email. Do you see plain text working better than these kind of high graphic kind of emails?
Yeah, it depends on the service provider someone uses for email, but my default is just plain text with no images, rarely any images in them and things of that nature, but to make sure that email hits the inbox instead of the Gmail promotional folder.
Right. Cool. Amazing. Some really good tips already. We're getting some questions in on the live feed. So I'm going to jump into one of these questions. Okay, so Sam says, can you talk about call to action buttons? They're often stuck as to the call to action should be, e.g. download your free coupon would convert much higher than inquire now and get a free consultation. How do you decide which call to action button copy to work? Like what do you find works better on landing pages for the call to action button?
Oh, that's a good one, because like you guys would probably have better data on this than me, Ollie,
Sure.
but that's something you got to be committed to testing. And to be honest, if there's a pecking order for what you need to test, you want to test the headline and the lead before you even worry about call to action buttons. And most people don't even test multiple headlines and leads to worry about getting to that point.
Yeah. Okay. So that makes sense. So you would always test on that headline first and foremost before you worry about the kind of call to action, get that one sorted, and then worry about your call to actions.
Right. And then I would test the lead too, as far as, if I change the headline kind of completely, let's say I'm going with a fear-based headline and I'm transitioning to maybe a hope-based headline, then that lead in is probably going to change too with that headline. And then, there's like one thing I learned from one of my mentors is like the 5-sentence copy overhaul, where you take these 5 sentences and they literally can be sprinkled into the lead of the copy.
Yeah.
And double, triple conversions just from having those little changes in the headline and lead.
So talk about this. Sorry, the five sentence. Yeah, talk about this in a bit more detail, if you would.
Okay, like one of the sentences that is in the 5. I have it since it's in my Evernote, so I'm not going to consult that right now. But
sure,
one of the sentences is like a counterintuitive sentence, like maybe somebody has a fitness letter, and I seen one the other day. I swiped, so I'll just say what he had in there that I thought was great. Weightlifting doesn't make you more muscular.
Okay.
This guy was ripped like a Greek god, by the way. I'm like, wow, really? So it definitely caught my attention. I swiped it. I swipe a ton of stuff I see, not to steal it, just to help clients out when I need.
Of course.
So that would be something that, like, people don't think to always do something counterintuitive like that with their copy. That's something that could be sprinkled into the lead of the copy just to get people's wheels turning and get them curious.
Awesome. Love it. Okay, guys. So make sure, as I said, if you're watching this on the replay, make sure you join the lab landing page at lab.com. It's a free group. Curtis is in there all the time as well. If you have any questions for us, he's a partner of Landing Page Guys. And also, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. But we're going to jump into a few more questions, if that's okay.
Let's do it.
Cool. So we've got a question about emojis, and it's something that's quite relevant for us right now, because we see a big increase on click-throughs if you include emojis on the landing pages on your kind of call to actions, which is mad. It's the generation we live in. Everyone kind of associates with those emojis, and they do work. Have you tested emojis inside your copy, inside email copy? Like, is there any direct effect on kind of using emojis to click-throughs and kind of that thing, or maybe not?
I'm glad you asked. You know what? The best answer I have for that is one of our clients that came to us. They needed some email copy, and this person had a Klaviyo email marketer on his team already. And so they gave me this list of emails that they needed for automation. And pretty much all of those emails, they were asking for, an emoji. So I'm going to have to default and say that can make you want to test it always, but that is probably making a big difference, because this Klaviyo gentleman had worked with a bunch of companies that were doing, 7 figures and scaling a lot with email. So I'm going to default and say, that emoji.
Yeah, I've definitely seen it have effect in a subject line on our kind of personal emails, not even our clients. But Curtis, you've written some really amazing follow-up sequences for us, and they convert so well. But the ones that have the emojis in between the ones that don't get way more open rates and click-through rates. So maybe just a quick tip is putting an emoji at the beginning of your subject line on an email. The one that's done the best is the red warning sign, not the actual warning sign, but there's like a red round emoji. And that's worked really well for open rates for us. So yeah, really great tip. Good morning to Owen. He's saying it's very early. Not as early as it is for Curtis. I think I'm right in saying it's about 3:20 in the morning where you are.
Yeah.
So you're like, explain a bit about your kind of habits and stuff. So you say you're a night owl. So you work through the night and then kind of get your sleep and stuff in the day. Is that just something you've always done? Explain, how you how you work and what your typical day looks like.
Yeah, I'm a night owl, man. I pretty much stay up late. I usually use this time to write copy. Most people are asleep. Sometimes I'll even take my copy down to the bar, pub, and sit there and actually work on copy there too, just to get out of the house. Because I'm a single guy and need some different atmosphere. So I'll take it with me. I love what I do, so if I take some moments and write copy, and then take a little break, have a few conversations, and get back to writing. As far as the start of my day, that's when I kind of do my interacting and prospecting for work and helping out people or whatever in different Facebook groups, and then hit the gym maybe once or twice, about twice, 2 or 3 times a week, I should say. And other than that, writing happens late at night.
Awesome. So you're most creative during the kind of night.
Exactly. Every time I try to go to sleep, the wheels start turning, and it's like, you know what? Just don't
Get up and write. Yeah. Get down the pub. I love that. So you're like 2 emails a pint, 2 emails a pint. I did wonder why the emails go like this the more you write. Awesome. Right. Guys, if you're watching, please feel free to interact, say hello, ask any questions. We're just going to get into a few more questions now. Okay, so talk to us again. We're kind of sticking to emails, so email sequences. Let's say for your typical e-com store, if I said to you, Curtis, what would be the perfect follow-up email sequence for an e-com store? How many emails are you going to write? What's that going to look like? Is that going to be those kind of 5 emails again? Just talk us through briefly how that would be.
It's probably going to be those 5 emails, but slightly tweaked depending if somebody actually bought something, obviously. But the one sequence that pretty much every store needs to have in place, that a lot of times they don't, is the abandoned cart sequence.
Okay, so golden nuggets. Let's talk us through this. So everyone, I see this question all the time on all the Facebook groups. How do I optimize? How do I get better sales from abandoned carts? So here we go. Let's talk us through it.
Perfect question. You got to put some elbow grease into it, man. And when I say that, I spent time on the inside of an agency. A gentleman was running an email marketing boutique agency, and he charged a bunch of us some money to come in and learn how to do email marketing. And one of the things I learned from him was what is called a no retreat, no surrender email sequence. So if you can imagine those 5 emails, imagine 5 emails across the top here. But if somebody gets email 1 and they don't open it, 6 hours later, they need to get email 1.2. And then 6 hours after that, if they don't open that one, they need to get email 1.3. Let's say they open email 1.3, they get that second email if they don't take the desired action. If they don't open that second email, they're going to get email 2.2 and 2.3 and so on and so forth. So it's like 15 emails in a really good auto abandoned cart sequence that's automated, because and people are like, well, wait, that sounds like overkill. You're going to make people unsubscribe from my list. They're not going to see it, because everybody's fighting for their piece of the most coveted piece of digital real estate, which is that email inbox.
This is really interesting. And just to jump in for a quick question. So you say email 1, then 1.2, 1.3. Are the email 1.2 and 1.3 the exact same email as 1, or are they tweaked a bit?
The headlines and leads change of the emails.
Okay, but the content is pretty much the same. You're just trying to get them to open that first email.
Exactly, and you have to assume that they're not going to see it, and you can't send the same exact message with each email, because then you're going to get flagged as being a spammer. So you got to change the headline and leads each time you do that. So it's some work to it, but definitely effective.
And if you can, just give us like a 10-second per email. But you mentioned these kind of 5 emails, but they're broken down into 3 because you just want to hit their inbox and then they get open. What do the kind of 5 in an abandoned cart sequence is quite good, because we just had a question about this as well on the live. What are the contents, very briefly, of those 5 emails?
Again, you're going to provide value in each of those. Try to, and if it doesn't make sense, it's just going to state in a different way. Like, it could be cute, like, hey, our cart's getting lonely, come back. There's different ways to do it. You can find different things to swipe online, but you just want to really fight to get them to come back and make that order, because I forget what the exact number is, Ollie, but I want to say 4 out of 5 people really intend to buy. when they put it in the cart.
Wow. So it's normally just something that they click off, but they just need that additional push, I guess.
Yeah, they might have, honey, come take out the trash, honey, help out with,
Yeah, sure. Oh, I haven't got my credit card on me, or yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So 5 emails, but we're going to 3x each email so it hits their inbox. We're going to get a bit kind of unattached to the kind of fact that we're sending them 15 emails. Let's don't care about that. All we want to do is make sure that they open one, and then we send them the next one in the sequence.
Exactly. If they open that first email, they're not going to get email 1.2 and 1.3.
No. We're just going to go straight to 2. If they don't open 2, we're going to go 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. And then straight to 3 if they open 1, and so on and so forth. What's that last email look like? What's the last email in your abandoned cart funnel look like? Does it get a little bit more aggressive? Is it like, or do you tend to, can you work? Yeah, I was going to say, do you use scarcity? Do you use coupons? What works best in that?
I'll count them down. 6 hours left. Actually, in the middle, maybe in the middle of that whole 5 email sequence, maybe I increase the discount. You know what I mean? Instead of maybe if the discount was 10%, it goes to 20%.
So that first email is a discount.
That first abandoned cart email? Not always. Sometimes it can just be like, hey, you forgot something or whatever.
But then maybe 2 or 3 we get them in a discount. But then at 5 we increase the discount, but we also put some scarcity on there.
With the amount of time they have to redeem it, correct.
Perfect. This is amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Brilliant. So guys, if you have any more questions for Curtis, please put them in the group, but we've got a couple more coming through. So we talk about this all the time. Again, I say we, landing page guys, we never pretend to be a content or copy service. That's why we have Curtis, who is our kind of partner when it comes to content and copy. He just literally takes our clients' pages and boom, skyrockets them. There's a little plug for you, Curtis. When we kind of talk about content, we know a fair bit about content. We know how it should be positioned and stuff on a landing page, of course, and we work with you to do that. But we often talk about the whole benefits before features. Is that something that you kind of follow, where people should be talking about the benefit to the user as opposed to features? Because I think as a product owner, as a business owner, as a service or software owner, it doesn't matter. We're always thinking about the features. We're always thinking, like this phone has 12 megapixel camera. It's the biggest zoom ever. But like people don't really care. All they really care about is it's going to take amazing pictures of their family because it benefits them, right? So is that something that you put into your kind of copy? Absolutely.
Features tell, benefits sell. So
I never heard that. I've got to use that now. That's amazing.
It'll be real cliche there, but
I love that.
Features tell, benefits sell, and I even learned that in like business to business sales, selling directly to people.
Yeah.
So you kind of always want to lead with the benefit that the feature provides and make it stand out, and always keep in mind to speak to the transformation, because like you said, people tune into they're all about themselves. They don't care about me or my service, you or your service, or anybody and their product. They tune into WIFM, what's in it for me radio.
Nice.
So,
coming from the guy who used to work at the radio, right? So you mentioned just then. Features before benefits. So what it does for you as a consumer, how it benefits you, is something that you would always lead for, whether it's an email, a sales page copy, lead gen copy. It's always about what the product or what the service is going to do for the consumer, as opposed to how shiny it is, the shiny object kind of stuff.
Exactly. If I think about, offering copy as a service or email marketing as a service to somebody, they don't care really about how I do it. If they, obviously I can speak to it, but they care about the transformation that it provides more.
That was the word I wanted to pick up on, transformation. Okay. So this is really cool. So I guess the easiest way, the niche that everyone thinks about when you think of transformation is weight loss, right? Fitness. So it's like all you want to talk about is how someone's going to transform from fat to fit or from unfit to fit. But you would take that across any kind of niche to talk about that transformation. So I guess for landing pages, the transformation is that we're gonna make you more money. We're gonna convert you more leads. It's the same for copy, I guess.
Exactly. Yep.
Cool.
You want to, more leads and then, there's one of my mentors taught it. He teaches it like, it's like a heat check for the currency that you want to speak to in your copy. And like when you just use leads, but the hotter one than leads is revenue or profits. So there's a pecking order to what you want to speak to in regard to currencies, which why I go back to personal development. They don't like talking to those currencies for some reason. It makes them feel yucky inside. But, health, wealth, relationships, people are always going to pay money for that sort of thing. And there's literally a pecking order. Something for a relationship, someone's always going to be willing to pay more money to save their marriage from
Right.
divorce.
Yeah.
I mean, that sort of thing. So you just always got to be cognizant of that sort of stuff and not fight back with your copywriter, because we know.
We have that all the time, to be honest. Well, not all the time. Like, we have amazing clients, but sometimes people want to take too much control, and it's like, hang on, we've been doing this for years. We kind of know what converts. I guess it's the same in your world as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so we've got a couple more questions, guys. If you are watching, we've got some amazing comments on here saying that Curtis is sharing some incredible knowledge and golden nuggets. So yeah, really, really good stuff. We've got about 10 minutes left, so make sure you add your questions in. But let's get into the next question. So are there any books that you would recommend people read about content and copy? What kind of knowledge bases, or what books have really helped you in your kind of content career?
I'm a kind of an info junkie here, so I got quite a list.
I'm like the opposite, to be honest, but yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I read so that I sleep well. I read before I go to bed so that I sleep better. But I'm not like a huge fan of kind of the kind of business and entrepreneurial books. I tend to feel like, and this is just not knocking books, but I tend to feel like a lot of books these days are like 500 pages long, and they'll just repeat one thing for 500 pages when you could have probably said it in 20 pages. But that's just me. This is all about you, Curtis. Tell us, how can we learn how to be not as good as, but a good copywriter like you?
You can be a solid copywriter by reading. I'm going to say Ogilvy has a book. Ogilvy on advertising, one of the godfather of direct response. Got to include him. A gentleman named Joe Sugarman has several books. I think it's the Copywriting Ad Week Handbook, and then he has social triggers, not social triggers, but just triggers. I've read those two. So what else do I like as far as the books go? I think Jay Abraham has a really good book. It's not so much copy related, but it kind of like business related, getting everything you have out of everything you got, or something called like that. And I thought that was a great read, and certainly helped my mindset as a copywriter. Let's say The Boron Letters by Gary Halbert. And then there's just a ton of podcasts and people.
Yeah, I was going to say, are there any like podcasts or resources or websites or groups? What's apart from the Landing Page Lab, which you need to join if you're not in landingpagelab.com. But what kind of resources or groups are there? Any that you recommend?
I was a member of Copy Chief for about 18 months with Kevin Rogers. He does a great job teaching.
Is that like a paid kind of thing?
Yeah, it's paid monthly. I also started out with online stuff. I joined American Writers and Artists Inc., and they have an accelerated copywriting program. Gentleman named Neville Medora has a copywriting course. Other podcast, I would say, gentleman named Carlos Redlich has I think it's called Copy Closers or something like that. So there's quite a bit of resources out there to help you get going. And then one of my favorite is a paid course that I joined, and I kind of use it as a default because I've seen a lot of stuff. I've seen it work for a lot of different niches, but it's called the Fletcher Method. So it's
what's that called? The Fletcher Method.
The Fletcher Method. It's like a overall view of just everything digital marketing, lots of frameworks, and lots of niches have used what he teaches, and it works. So I don't use it for every niche, but for a lot, it depends on the niche, business to business, especially I use it for. But works
Amazing. Yeah, really, really good list there of resources for people. So that's really useful. Okay, one last question, if I may. So I want you to give us your top kind of 3 tips when it comes to landing page copy. So landing page guys design a beautiful looking landing page, but more importantly, it's going to convert. We hand it over to you to kind of do the copy. What are your top 3 tips when it comes to copy? What are the most important things to focus on when you're doing a copy for a landing page?
The most important, obviously, the headline does 80% of the heavy lifting. So that's super important, that headline and sub-headline. I'm going to also say, even taking a step back, the avatar research, the more information I can have on an actual buyer of a service or a product, and the more I can get into that person's psyche, the better that copy is going to convert to. So it's not so much landing page oriented, but that does about 90% of the heavy lifting for copy. So that's why I always try to mention that avatar research.
Yep.
And then the third thing I'm going to say is really strong bullet points, tap into emotion, make sure there's some kind of emotion. Emotion is important for copy, period, anyways.
Yeah.
Headlines, sub-headlines, you kind of want to be touching on some kind of dominant emotions, but if you can have really juicy, curious bullet points when appropriate, those do a great job too. So
amazing. Okay, so headlines, tap into the avatar and those bullet points. So when it comes to a landing page, we often have the headline at the top, sub-headline, and then we also go for like odd bullet points underneath. And that kind of sums up your value proposition, right? Your kind of section above the fold, which is so important, because if that's not strong enough, people won't scroll down.
And one more thing about that, and I know you guys adhere to this all the time, but you can get some of those testimonials in that area,
right?
Too.
Crucial. You have to have that testimonial above the fold. I couldn't agree with you more. Cool. And then we go into those 5 Ps, and then we take them down the page, kind of following that AIDA principle. And awesome stuff. Curtis, it's been a really, really amazing live in the lab. For those of you, again, who are kind of watching the replay, head on over to landingpagelab.com. It's a free group. If you're watching this on YouTube, please hit subscribe. But I'm going to hand over to Curtis just to how do people get in touch with you? How can people see your work? I know you're in the lab all the time, but how can people get in touch with you, Curtis?
I prefer to work mostly. They can hit me through my Facebook profile, my personal profile. I have a business page as well. They can reach me through there.
And what's your Facebook? It's Curtis. Is it Curtis L. Moore?
My Facebook is just Curtis Moore.
Curtis Moore. Perfect.
Yeah. And then LinkedIn is another way to reach me. I'm Curtis Moore on there. You can reach me directly.
MMOORE.
Correct. It's with Curtis with a C. C-U-R-T-S.
But if anyone wants an intro to Curtis, just make sure you post in the lab or comment on this video, or you can email me, oliver@landingpageguys.com. I'll do that straight away. Curtis is our kind of official copy and content partner with Landing Page Guys, because he does such an amazing job and continues to do so. But thank you so much for joining us on the live. You've dropped some amazing information. We're getting loads of comments of people saying such great information. Thank you, Curtis. I know it's 4 o'clock in the morning where you are right now, so that's actually probably the middle of your day, right?
Yeah, well, I'm not tired yet, so I probably do it for an hour or so, but yeah.
Cool. I really appreciate it, guys. If you have any more questions, drop them below this video. I'm sure Curtis will be coming back in the lab. He's in there all the time. Also, we had a question from one of our lab rats called Rick, who said, could you audit his page for some content? We had a brief chat before this, but you may start, if it's called, maybe doing like 1 a week or 1 every couple of weeks, where you kind of inside the lab, you audit people's landers. Is that cool?
That is cool. I love to do copy audits, keep me sharp and help people out. Yeah.
That's amazing. So look for these coming in the lab very soon. Curtis will be dropping some audits like I do on the landing pages. Hopefully Curtis will do a couple on the content, really give you guys some value. But it's been a real pleasure. I hope you have a great rest of your evening, and thanks everyone for watching, and join us again live in the lab soon. landingpagelab.com. Thanks, Curtis.
Thank you. Take care, Ollie.
Cheers, mate.